Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another kind of event video here on Marvel Strike Force. Today, we're going to be talking about Operation Omega a little bit, and most of the video, though, is going to be targeting Kyln. Escape from Kyln, which is 90% of what this event involves. I'm going to be taking a look at each of the floor traits with the perspective or point of view of my alt account, so that this can be early and mid-game friendly as well as veteran friendly as well. We'll be talking about the math a little bit, but to be honest, like I said, 90% of the orb fragments come from Kyln. So we can kind of do a little bit of a baseline, but by and large, it's going to depend on what is contained within the Kyln milestones, which I don't know yet. I may do an update video once we know a little bit more as far as how far we'll get, but I can't do a proper math video breakdown in this one. So a lot of this will be focused on Kyln. I will have timestamps as well in the description down below if you do want to jump to certain sections where I talk about certain sections and traits for Kyln. But otherwise, whatever I say, let's boil this down, right? Okay, and so let's just do a real quick recap for the end of the September monthly. This is week number 3 and the end. Operation Omega is worth a fair bit of currency. It's worth about 132,000 in total, and 20,000, which comes from the web mile. There's 50,000 from the web milestone. 20,000 of this is a bit more challenging and difficult to get. You may get it, you may not. However, that's not really necessary. It's just going to go towards the. Actually, there's no leaderboard. Right? There's no leaderboard for this one now that I think about it, so it doesn't really matter that much. Our grand total is 690k. So what that tells you is that if you missed anything, that you should be more than good enough to clear this. Now, as far as the rewards go for the event tables, I'm just going to go cover this again. A lot of this, is pretty standard as far as event rewards go, the monthly currency, the event item. So you do want to get at least down to here. It does appear, though, that there are some purple ISO stuff from this milestone, and it does get a little bit better, but it's honestly nothing that great until we get to about this one down here, which honestly at this point we're probably looking at whalestones. So I don't know how far we will be able to get to. It's an 8-day event though, so it depends on Kyln, I guess, right? Like how many orb fragments are we getting? And a lot of the other points are, stuff that we're not going to be able to do. So that's that. Let's jump on over to the math, however, and we'll just talk about it. There's a little bit to talk about before we jump into the Kyln floors. Operation Omega, 8-day event, escape from Kyln, raid with Orcus characters, arena payout, which is from the Thanos orbs. The total milestone points is 300k. I don't know how far we'll be able to get. The event item at 68k seems pretty reasonable, but you will have to involve yourself a little bit in Kyln. This is milestone 13, free claims we don't know. The web milestone points give you 46,000 though. This is a lot. Now there's 30,000 milestone points plus 8,000 orb fragments. It's worth 2 to 1, apparently, according to their table. So this is a total of 16,000, which makes it a total of 46k points. You need about 78,000 Thanos Annihilator orb fragments over 8 days to get all of the event stuff. The rest of it is just more monthly currency, so it's not that bad. Also, you do get 1,500 fragments every day from the daily objective, so 8 of those would be about 12,000. So it shouldn't be that hard to hit 66,000 points, right? So over 8 days would be a payout of 8250, which I think most of the arena ranks like post 250 get you that. So it shouldn't be that hard to get the event currency for that. And then again, we don't really know how many orb fragments we're getting out of Kyln. So that's something that's a bit of an unknown right now. Might have to do an update video later on. Raid with Orcus, you get 10,000 points from that. And the rest of this is just if you spent, right? Or if you happen to have them at 5 yellow plus. So I can't really include that, which means that the current reasonable total, which is not where we're going to land, is 56,000. So that's just the 10 plus the 46, right? And so that's not, it's milestone 12. It's one below the event item. So you are going to have to proceed with Escape from Kyln in order to get the rest of the fragments needed to get further in the milestone. The rest of the video, though, I do just want to talk about each of the Kyln floors and what I recommend that you use. Also, I will try to have a save squad list code that you can use, at least from the perspective of my alt account. Oh yeah, I also wanted to point out that you absolutely should be pushing on this event where possible because there is a purple ISO leaderboard. I thought the data mines didn't say that this was going to happen, but it appears that we are getting one. So the usual top 10,000, and there are a variety of different purple ISO rewards along the way. So this is definitely an event that you're still going to want to keep pushing, especially to get more progress towards Odin. I also want to do a little bit of a recap very quickly before we start things off, as far as the various restrictions for the different floors, which you can find on the Friday blog post here. So, cells 1 to 4 is no restriction, and I typically use this to kind of power up or charge up some of my characters that I'm going to be using on later floors to get their energy back. And the characters that I'm going to be doing that with my alt account, it's probably a little bit different because the characters that I have available to me on my alt account is not the same as my main account because of the way that the meta's just moved on, and so I'm doing the best that I can on that account to, min max the characters, especially on these early floors, characters that I maybe don't really level up. 5 to 7, Guardian or Infinity Watch. I would stick with Infinity Watch. We have Avengers, Global Skill, City Mystic, as Guardian, Spider-Verse tech or Spider-Verse skill. At this point, you might as well do this, which is Spider Society. You'll be using them later down the line anyways. Global Mystic, these two here at 15 and 16, so you basically need them at 16. Villain, Mutant, this one's improved a little bit. Hero Tech again at G17, keep that in mind. But X-Men at gear tier 17, Legendary at gear tier 18, and this is where it starts to get 18 plus. Villain Bio 18, Spider Society basically at 18. Cabal 18, Orcus or Alpha Flight 18, and Orcus or Annihilator 19. We're also going to be covering in this video the data mines for the last 6 floors. So if you are looking to get some more information on that, you can skip ahead to the timestamp for that one. All right, so first things first, this is going to be from the perspective of my alt account here. And the characters that I'm going to be using to kind of preload my character's energy and things like that on my alt account is going to be Thanos Endgame, Vol, and Super Skrull. Now, the issue with Vol is that my Asgardians are not, as we'll see further down, are not built very well. Typically, the first 20 floors, I would say that my alt account has not built a lot of these characters, and it just so happens that at least for a couple of the floors, there are some newer characters that we can use. But Kyln was designed like a year ago, where the meta was a lot different. So different people will use different characters in the unrestricted sections. They die pretty quickly. However, you can also use characters like OG Thanos if you're using any cosmic characters, that when you kill somebody, it's going to feed them energy, and that would be a lot more helpful. And I just don't know if I have the gold to bring Thanos up to like level 60 where I can do that, because I don't have OG Thanos on my alt account. He's at level 1. So that's something that I would recommend that you do instead, though. It makes it a lot easier to funnel these cosmic characters' energies, because you do want to have their abilities available. It's not the end of the world if you don't do this, but it just makes things a little bit easier. But aside from that, I want to start with floors 5 through 7, which is going to be the Infinity Watch characters. Now, you could use Phyla-Vell. If you don't have Adam Warlock, you can use these two plus Phyla-Vell, and that's fine too, but I'm going to be using Adam Warlock for this. And this is exactly where you need to bring them. You can do this at level 60. I heard you could do this at level 55. I took them to 60. I believe they're gear tier 11, and I do have my ability materials into them as well. Not very high powered. Floors 8 through 10 are going to be Avengers. And now this one is a little bit more challenging, but it's made a little bit easier because Hank Pym, thankfully, and I'm pretty sure this will be carried by my Hank Pym, he is an Avengers character. Now, alternatively, I also have Iron Man as part of the Illuminati, and that helps too because both of them are on the same team. So this one quite helps. But after that, for my alt account, and I'll just show you what I have, like the options for me are limited. For veteran players, you're gonna have you probably won't have a problem. But for Avengers, that's what I have left over, right? Because I didn't, aside from New Avengers, I only took them up to exactly what I needed for the Green Goblin Classic trial to unlock him. So if you have any of these other characters up a little bit higher, be my guest. But I did use Captain America because of Out of Time and the requirement for Old Man Logan. So that's 7 to 10 8 to 10, sorry, Avengers. And then we have 11 through 13, which is Global Skill. This one's also going to be a little bit of a nightmare for me. However, I'm hoping that a Black Knight carries this a little bit. We also see Mockingbird, who is an Avengers character as well, but I decided to go with Cap above and not reuse Mockingbird. But it's not good. For me, this is not good. So if we go back and take a look at the total characters, especially, from the perspective of a more mid-game account, the options are very, very poor. This was originally designed for the Invaders team, which we no longer use anymore. So as you can see, the rest of my roster is pretty bad. There is Taskmaster available there, but if you can see, the rest of the characters are going to be level 1 invaders, and that's not very helpful to what I have right now. So I'm going to be hoping that Black Knight carries this for me. And moving on, we have 14 to 16 City Mystic. Now, things are improving slightly. However, this was also designed for a team that I no longer, or I don't have on this account, which was New Warriors. That's what it was designed for. Cloak Dagger and Deathpool. Cloak Dagger and I guess somebody else at that point. Gwenpool. You know, you could have used Firestar, right? You could have used any of them. But my alt account has Spider-Man Noir, very large. And then I have Ghost Rider Robbie and Moon Knight because I've been leveling Moon Knight for the Night Stalkers team, but he hasn't had his rework yet. So this one is it's not great for, mid gamers because I didn't build Robbie very big. So I'm not sure, how much of this is going to be carried. Now, the enemy power for this is going to be like pre G15, right? So I'm hoping that I know that, he's not the best character exactly, but yeah, look at all my level ones. Like it's just I would be using something like the New Warriors, but I don't have them available to me, so kind of sucks there for me. I even have Firestar unlocked? I might not. So it's just crazy. So that's what I'm going to be hoping for the best. Things get better though as I get to some of the other floors, which is except for maybe the Asgardians. So this is going to be the 17 to 19 as Guardian floors, and I'm hoping that I can carry this pretty hard with Vol. Now, I have not leveled my other Asgardians. I did take Hela up to level 60. I'm hoping she doesn't die, but maybe I could bring her back with Vol. And the Greg's dying might give me a speed bar advantage there. Also, Loki is part of the Old Man Logan event, which I do need to raise him up a little bit more soon, so I might be able to get that done too. But these are the 3 characters that I recommend for that because they might just have the most usage right now. Again, if you're a veteran, you're not going to have any problems with this whatsoever. But for early and mid gamers, might be a small problem. But now this is where things get a lot better. So floors 20 to 22, we have Spider-Verse skill or Spider-Verse tech. Honestly, because they're farmable at this point in time, I would just recommend using a Spider Society. Now, you will get to use them on later floors as well. So when you finish floor 22, make sure that your cooldowns are in a relatively decent position. Otherwise, you might start the next floors at a little bit of a disadvantage. But I'm using the 3 new characters, which is going to be Pav, Penny, and Peter B. Honestly, for those of you who have done Dark Dimension City, you know that these characters just wreck face. So it won't be that big of a problem there. I don't know. I do not recommend the use of Spider-Verse tech necessarily over this because these are going to be your best characters. Then we have 23 through 25, which is Global Mystic. Now, you do need to have these characters at 16 to advance because cell 25 requires 16 specifically. And these are the characters that I'm using. This is not good. I might have a little bit of a challenge with this. We'll have to see because Agatha hasn't been reworked yet, first of all, and the other options are just not that good. Not that good. Again, this was kind of aimed towards the older meta. There is Black Panther Shuri. So this is a potential option here. But if you look at who else is available, we have Starbrand, Doctor Doom. Ares is actually on there, but I haven't had a chance to level Ares on my alt account. So Quicksilver, again, characters that are not soup. If you're a veteran player, you have these, but I mean, I don't know. Ares is something maybe I could do if I have to. I don't know if I'd had the goal to level up characters from scratch, and that's the problem. So maybe I would take up Black Panther Shuri a little bit higher to replace Agatha if she just doesn't work right now pre-rework. So unfortunately, this is all you got. It's not great. Otherwise, Black Panther Shuri would be your next best option, I think, if you don't have one of these other 2 characters built up. So do keep that in mind. This one's going to be a little bit of a challenge. Going forward, though, we have floors 26 through 28, Villain Mutant. Now, this is what I have, right? And because, again, I haven't built up Death Seed because that was an old meta team that is no longer usable, really, at this point in time. I did have to use these characters for the Apocalypse Saga, and then we have Namor for Cabal, who I am going to have to build up a little bit higher anyways as a result of the Cabal floors, so that might be a little bit easier, but a lot of people in the past use Death Seed. So as far as your alternatives go, there is a few others, especially depending on what you have built and what you haven't built. Do keep in mind, though, that they do need to be at gear tier 16. Villain Mutant. One character that I would point out actually is Dakin, who is Villain Mutant, and some people may have done that. And he is a stronger, newer character as far as things are concerned. But you do get the synergy between Apocalypse and Archangel, and if you have big Apocalypse, you most likely have Archangel at least to gear tier 17. Anyways, so this is what I'm going to try. and hope for the best. I know that Namor is not going to, I'm going to probably have to move Namor to a Raider for this because he's probably not going to do a ton standalone. He does a lot of benefits within the Cabal team. So we'll see. I'm going to hope for the best that we can still power through with my, my Apocalypse is a little bit higher at this point in time because it's only gear tier 16 required. So I'm hoping I can carry this a bit. And then we get on to floors 29 through 31. Now, that's hero tech. Usually, previously, people were doing the Pegasus team, using things like Kestrel and Rescue and, I don't know, Ironheart or Iron Man Infinity War. This time, it's a bit easier because we got Hank Pym, and Hank Pym's amazing, and his synergy with heroes are truly amazing. And so, Kestrel, Hank Pym, and Penny Parker is going to be on my list here. Penny's getting a lot of work usage because I'm going to be using Penny again once we get to Spider Society. So this would be like 3 sections that I'll probably use Penny. So I'll have to try to keep her cooldowns in mind as well. But luckily, she's a bit of an energy battery, so it should be okay, hopefully, when it comes to Spider Society. So this is my plans. Again, outside of this, your only other options are just more of the Pegasus team members, so keep that in mind. But this is what I'm going to be using for my alt account here. And then moving on to 32 to 34, we have X-Men at gear tier 17. Now, you're going to want to use some combination of Extreme X-Men. This is going to make the most amount of sense in my opinion. I decided with Nightcrawler, Forge, and Sunspot because Sunspot, his charges, you can actually charge him up in the early floors with his attacks because those charges are going to carry over onto the other floors, making the team more powerful from the get-go. So it's entirely up to you. You could use Gambit instead. Extreme X-Men is absolutely your best bet. You could also use Old Man Logan. However, I am using Old Man Logan right after this, and I don't know if I want to burn his cooldowns necessarily, which is cells 35 through 37. It is legendary at gear tier 18. Now, this was done well before Old Man Logan ever came out, and I think this is the first time we've had a Kyln since Old Man Logan's been out. So I feel that he's going to carry very, very hard on this. I have decided to use Doc Ock and Green Goblin Classic because that was the most relevant to my roster. I do have Black Bolt, though, as well, so I could take out maybe Green Goblin and put Black Bolt in for more damage, especially because he's a striker and he's going to get assists from Old Man Logan. But those are my 4 characters that I have at gear tier 18 anyways, because these are the characters that I took in for Dark Dimension 6. 38 through 40, we have Villain Bio. This has also become a little bit easier with the release of Annihilators because we have Super... This is pretty much designed for Super Scroll. I think that maybe you might be able to do this with another Villain Bio with the 2 Annihilators, but realistically, I think because it's a requirement of gear tier 18, this is pretty much designed for Super Scroll. This was designed for it a while ago, so I think that that's still probably the case. You can use Undying, but I really wouldn't. So these are my choices for Villain Bio here at gear tier 18. I do have Gore, I do have Gladiator, and I have Super Scroll. So that's what I'm going to be using. Floors 41 through 43, this is Spider-Verse Skill, which is basically Spider Society. And now we're kind of back to where we were in April when Kyln came out back then, and the new floors were 41 through 46. So this one, we have 41 to 43. We have a Spider-Verse Skill. Again, using the 3 Spider Society, the new members, I think this probably makes the most sense here because they're the strongest, and this is what people used before. Cells 44 through 46. Cabal or Underworld at gear tier 18. Now, both of these other teams are farmable, and I'm going to be going ahead with Cabal, though they do need some levels. So I'm going to be hopefully putting out some gold into them this weekend, especially with the war payout, the war gold payout, and getting them up to 95. That should also help Namor in the previous floor in the villain mutant section. But considering that they're pretty much like, 7 red with diamonds now because they're farmable, I don't expect this to be a huge problem on that. And that leads us to 47 and above, where I'm going to pay special attention to this. And we're also going to talk about the enemies on the data mines for those floors. All right, and I want to bring you guys special attention to these last 6 floors here. Like I said here, these are the characters that I'm going to be using. I honestly believe that you could probably get through all 6 floors with Orcus characters. And the reason for this is because, well, Scientist Supreme is like the only one that has sustain, which I believe is necessary to get through that many floors. And we're going to take a look at the enemies on these floors as well. Alternatively, there are maybe the Annihilators might be able to get through, especially on the top last 3 levels. You do need them at gear tier 19. So what does this mean? Well, I'm probably going to be G19ing my, well, I can't on this account, but I will be on my main account anyways, G19ing my Scientist Supreme and Sentinel. That being said, I do actually have 3 Annihilators at G19 for my alt account. So if it's possible, I might be able to get through. But if not, then I on my main account, I will be doing primarily um, Orcus because I think that that's going to be the best. And I don't have Nimrod, so realistically for that account, it's going to be these 3 characters here. But they'll absolutely tear through G18 on those levels instead of Alpha Flight. I just don't see any world where Alpha Flight is somehow better than Orcus. So let's talk about the enemies that are actually on the nodes here. So let's talk about 47, 48, and 49 first. This is Orcus or Alpha Flight at gear tier 18. This is posted in the Data Mines channel on my server, so if you want to take a look at this some more, all the stuff is always there. So 47, we have Sunspot, Forge, and 2 Lizards on the first wave. And then the second wave, we have 2099, Spider-Man Noir times 2, and Shield Security times 2. Now, obviously, we have some taunting going on. They're probably going to be on the opposite side of the board when they come down. And then there's a lot of tanks going on. You're going to want to get to Sunspot and Forge. I think that honestly, unless they're spread out in a weird way, like I think that Lady Deathstrike's special is going to absolutely wreck through them. And the great thing about Scientist Supreme is that she like almost always goes first because she gets like 50% turn bar on spawn, and she's pretty quick now. So she's going to be able to get that ultimate, which is going to get everyone debuffed and also speed up the rest of the Orcus team. And if you're running Sentinel, then he's going to get to his turn quicker. He gets safeguard for the whole team when his turn activates, and then also drops down the Sentinels, and it should just honestly just carry on from there. The only concern that you might have is that Noir does get a lot of turn bar if you start buffing on the second wave. So I would, try to get to these 2 characters first, and then just try not to buff too much so they don't get a ton of turn bar, I suppose. If they even hurt that much, it's hard to say. Doesn't seem that hard. The enemies listed don't seem that bad. 48, we have Yo-Yo, Ghost Rider OG times 2, and Cosmic Ghost Rider times 2. Now this Cosmic Ghost Rider is a bit sucky. But honestly, just Lady Deathstrike does so much damage. She slaps so hard that I just don't see where this is going to be super challenging. And the second wave, Crystal times 2, and Miss Marvel times 2, OG Miss Marvel with the assists on the brawlers. I just don't see that being a big deal either. CGR here is your biggest threat for sure. And level 49, we have the leader, Kang times 2, Cloak, and Bishop times 2. Again, more tanks trying to keep you away from the enemies probably. So trying to eat the special, right? The special for Lady Deathstrike is going to chain multiple times, probably kill everyone. But I would say that I would probably say Kang is the biggest threat here more than Leader. I'm okay with like Leader and Iron Patriot being down. Just make sure you get rid of Iron Patriot ASAP on that second wave. It's just Dagger and Iron Patriot there on the second wave, and that's it. Maybe you could probably do this with Alpha Flight 2. I'm not saying you can. I'm just saying it's probably going to be easier to do Orcus. My only concern would be is making sure that if you're using Orcus again, try to make your cooldowns a little bit decent by the time you go into level 50, which has a Hank Pym. I hate Hank Pym so much. But we have Hank Pym, Cersei, Black Bolt, Black Panther, Shuri, and Agent Coulson here on the first wave. You're gonna want to get rid of Hank Pym, probably. I am more afraid of Hank Pym and his stupid healing passive mechanics than I am with Cersei and Icarus being on the same wave. Honestly, I mean, that's not fun. But I'm more concerned about Hank Pym surviving into the other waves. And then there's a Miss Marvel Hardlight as well, which synergizes with nobody. So we have like some Illuminati synergy, and then we have Cersei and Icarus. So keep that in mind. Now, Black Bolt is, anti-villain tech. So that's interesting, right? So at first glance, you would probably think that that's not good for Orcus, but they would have to knock you into the red to really make that a big difference. And I guess it could. If they're really strong, maybe that it could actually do something. But then I do believe that Orcus is very powerful. They also have this RNG thing with Scientist Supreme's Revive. Now, I know that's not going to work against Black Bolt, but just in the other floors as well, that there's a 25% chance to bring somebody back with Scientist Supreme. And the way that Kyln works allows you to reset the nodes. So you can definitely RNG this as well. Floor 51, we have Archangel times 2 and Rogue times 2. That's it. I would probably just try to kill all of them, honestly. But yeah, you don't want Rogue to taunt up with all those buffs and debuffs, and they can actually to trauma as well, which isn't great outside of raids for Orcus. And then we have Dawkin, regular OG Wolverine times 2, Panda Pool, and Black Knight times 2. This is a small concern. So I'm not 100% how much they're going to hit for. If it's going to be really bad for Orcus. Obviously, this might be a call out to Gore because Gore can clear charges, so that's a thing too. I believe though, what happened on the previous floors for Spider Society, that there was a Black Knight enemy, but did not have charges. So I'm not sure how this is going to work alive on 51. If Black Knights are going to come charged or not, they may do. In which case, you may like to use Gore, but I guess we'll find out, right? I'm just giving you the information here. I still think that we're going to get away with using Orcus. I think that it will work. 52, Nova, Star-Lord, Annihilation, Cosmic Ghost Rider, and Ares ×2. Now, this is going to be a bit of a challenge for Annihilators if those Ares have the Awakened passive. I don't know if they do. However, what I do like about Orcus, and especially when you're using Sentinel, is that Safeguard for Sentinel works on his turn, not on spawn. So if they have a way of blocking Safeguard on spawn, that actually does not matter for Sentinel because Sentinel, once he takes his turn, then the Safeguard gets applied to the team. So I think that's a little bit better. And given the speed bar of Scientist Supreme, that should be able to buff the characters up with speed up anyways. And then on the second wave, we have Ghost Rider Robbie and 2 Iron Patriots. So yeah, I mean, probably Nova would be a priority here, I think. Cosmic Ghost Rider is really underrated. Like he's quite strong as both as an enemy as a player. So I hate what he does. So probably want to get Nova controlled for sure, drop his charges, kill him, make sure he doesn't put up Nova Force. And that's probably what's going to be the hardest part about level 52. After, I don't know, Ares as an enemy, I've never really found it to be that big of an issue, other than he does have a lot of stats. I'm not really afraid of his kit, necessarily. Cosmic Ghost Rider, sometimes I am. And Nova, I don't want him putting out Nova Force. The rest of them will fall into places, but, you'll just control them. And that's what I like about Orcus, is they have a lot of control. Annihilators don't really have that much control, and there's tons of debuffs coming out of Scientist Supreme. So I think that this is going to be what I'm going to be doing personally. Now, I do have the other characters available because at this point, G19 is not that hard to do, especially for veteran players who are looking to clear the entire tower. So that's going to be it for me. Now, as far as, again, how many milestone orb fragments are going to be available and how far we're going to push and all of that and leaderboard stuff, I may do an update video once we know more. But I just wanted to cover the basis of Kyln. I wanted to cover all of the traits. I wanted to cover it from the perspective of my alt account so you guys kind of could see it from this account, what I'm expected to use as well. I will have this as a saved link in the description down below if you want to put it in onto your web roster online. This is what I'm going to be using for my alt account. I think it'd be a bit unfair and it would look a lot different if I'm using my main account because I have so many different characters available to me. But if you are interested in wanting to use this, then I will make that available to you in the description down below, and I'll post it on a pinned comment as well. So that's going to be the end of this video, everyone, for Kyln. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. We should be getting some pretty decent rewards as far as total rewards, the more stuff you're clearing. So I think it is worth building for this if you need to do a little bit, such as Infinity Watch or some of the other floors, like I mentioned, that my alt account might be struggling on to as well. So that's going to be it for now. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everyone. And until next time, stay safe and healthy. I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.